Hey guys, I want to break down the entire Digital Circus timeline in this video. So what I'm going to do is put everything in a clean timeline up to the start of episode 1, using what the show gives us, plus a couple popular fan theories to fill the gaps. And quick disclaimer before we start, between every event we do know, there were almost definitely other arrivals and abstractions we don't know. We literally see a bunch of crossed out faces on doors. We don't have names, we don't have stories, so I'm not going to pretend we do. I'll mention the gaps, and we move on. Alright, let's start at the very beginning. The timeline basically starts with Kinger, the one character who talks like he's been through multiple generations of this place. Kinger is a 48-year-old computer scientist, in real life, who's been trapped in the circus longer than anyone else. In fact, he's the very first known human to enter this virtual world, way back in the day. Kinger's avatar is a chess king piece, fitting since he's essentially the king of seniority here. But fortunately, he wasn't completely alone at the start. Alongside Kinger was Queenie, a queen chess piece, and Kinger's wife. Yes, the Digital Circus's first couple came as a matching set, a king and queen. In those earliest days, it's implied that Kinger and Queenie pretty much had the whole circus to themselves. It must have been equal parts romantic and terrifying for them. They likely leaned on each other for sanity and support. Queenie in particular acted as Kinger's mental anchor during those early years. The two probably explored the weird wonderland together, solved Kane's wacky adventures as a duo, and tried to maintain hope of escaping. At this point, the Digital Circus simulation was brand new, and so were its first human inhabitants. Unfortunately, not long after the circus began, it witnessed its first ever abstraction, the term for a human going insane and turning into a glitching monster. The very first human to abstract was someone named Scratch. We know of Scratch thanks to Kinger mentioning him in passing, recalling that trauma years later. In the timeline of events, Scratch's abstraction comes earliest, marking the first time Kane had to deal with a human effectively dying in the simulation. Little is known about Scratch's past or personality, but fans have plenty of theories. One popular theory suggests Scratch might have actually been an employee or developer of the Digital Circus, not just a random player. This is based from clues which hints that some of the earliest members could have been company staff. Perhaps Scratch was a tech working on the project who got stuck in his own creation. Or maybe he was just an unfortunate early user. We're not sure. What we do know is that Scratch was the first to go insane. Kinger witnessed this first abstraction and never forgot it. In fact, late in the series, Kinger even calls back to the first player who abstracted, clearly referring to Scratch. Just saying that name is enough to make Kane panic, implying there might be more to Scratch's fate than we realize. In any case, Scratch's abstraction would have been a blow to the couple who had just gotten used to the circus. Before moving on, it's important to note that many other humans came into the circus over the years, beyond the main characters we know. The hallway of doors in the circus is lined with symbols and names, many red cross indicating their owners abstracted, but we don't know their names or stories. They are essentially Easter eggs and background lore. For our timeline, we'll skip over them. Just keep in mind, the Digital Circus had many unseen victims over the years. People likely popped in, struggled to stay sane, and abstracted one by one. We'll focus only on the key players, but remember that between these known events, plenty of nameless others arrived and disappeared. With Scratch gone and other early members presumably coming and going, Kinger and Queenie persisted as long-term survivors. But even their story takes a tragic turn next. As time passed, Queenie herself eventually succumbed to the madness of the circus. At some point prior to episode 1, Queenie abstracted, making her one of the confirmed casualties in the timeline. This event was devastating for Kinger. He not only lost his wife, but also the person who kept him grounded. In episode 3, we see a haunting flashback of the moment it happened. Kinger in a dark pillow fort, saying goodbye to an abstracted Queenie. The darkness apparently calmed Queenie in her final moments, and Kinger reached out to touch her one last time before Kane sent her down to the cellar. Whatever the exact trigger was, Queenie's abstraction in the mid-years of the circus was a major turning point. Kinger was left as the sole original human, and his mental state deteriorated further after losing his beloved. From this point on, Kinger became more eccentric and forgetful, the nervous fellow we meet in the show. But he continued to fight, surviving for many years after Queenie left. And fortunately, new companions would soon arrive to join him in this strange circus, preventing him from being completely alone. Following Queenie's loss, the circus gained a much-needed ray of sunshine in the form of Ragatha. Ragatha is a 30-year-old woman, formerly a real estate agent in the real world, whose avatar is a ragdoll stuffed toy. We don't have an exact date, but Ragatha arrived at the Digital Circus sometime after Queenie was gone, becoming one of the earlier, next-generation members. Personality-wise, Ragatha is kind, upbeat, and determined to make the best of a bad situation. She habitually puts on a smile and tries to keep everyone's spirits up, even while internalizing her own negative thoughts. You can think of her as the big sister of the group, always ready with a comforting word or a fun activity to distract from the existential dread. Importantly, Ragatha has been in the circus longer than most of the current gang, besides Kinger. In fact, official info confirms she was around before characters like Jax arrived. This means Ragatha likely spent quite some time with just Kinger and a rotating cast of other early members. She even knew Ribbit, a character we'll discuss in a moment, from those days. By the time others arrived, Ragatha had gained experience and emotional resilience that made her a pillar of stability for the group. Not too long after Ragatha, another major player hopped into the circus. Literally hopped, because this one is a frog. This was Ribbit, an anthropomorphic green frog character with a pink bow tie and big eyes. But she became a part of the circus and eventually formed close bonds with a couple of other newcomers, namely Jax and Kaufmo, who we'll get to next. It's possible Ribbit arrived around the same era as Ragatha, or shortly after. What we do know is Ragatha was there to meet Ribbit, and later on, Jax and Kaufmo became Ribbit's best friends. In other words, Ragatha and Kinger watched their little family grow as Ribbit joined the ranks. At this stage in the timeline, the circus's human roster was slowly rebuilding. Kinger, Ragatha, and Ribbit were all active members. They may have been joined by a few unnamed folks as well, but again, those are unknown. This relatively stable group dynamic set the stage for the next arrivals who would shake things up: a mischievous purple rabbit and a goofy clown. Next up in the chronological parade is Jax. Jax is a tall, purple, rabbit-looking fellow and is one of the most notable personalities in the circus. In the real world, Jax was a 22-year-old guy before getting trapped. When did he arrive? Sometime after Ragatha and Ribbit for sure, and before the series begins, of course. By all indications, Jax came along a few years, or at least some time, prior to episode 1, becoming a mid to late arrival among the cast. From the moment Jax entered the circus, he brought a very distinct attitude, constantly looking to stir up trouble. He quickly fashioned himself as the prankster of the group. If someone's getting sarcastically teased, it's probably Jax doing it. He plays the role of the jerk with a heart very deep inside, often tormenting his peers, but also secretly craving friendship. Despite his mean streak, Jax did find genuine camaraderie with a couple of circus mates. He formed a friend group with Ribbit and Kaufmo that became the core social circle among the humans. It might surprise new viewers, given Jax's abrasive nature, but yes, Jax actually had close friends he cared about. We see hints of this in the pilot and later episodes, and a photo in episode 7 even shows Jax, Ribbit, and Kaufmo together, smiling with mugs of hot cocoa during a past adventure. Within that trio, Jax could let loose and have fun, rather than just picking on people. Kaufmo's sense of humor and Ribbit's mischievous energy meshed well with Jax's own love of chaos. They were the cool kids causing trouble in the circus, in contrast to Ragatha's earnest positivity or Kinger's anxious eccentricity. However, not everything was sunshines at that time. Jax's fear of vulnerability sometimes strained his relationships. We'll talk about a major falling out he had with Ribbit later, which became a pivotal moment. But for a while at least, Jax's arrival breathed new life into the circus, and in his own twisted way helped keep things lively. Interestingly, Jax is credited with giving Gangle her name when she later arrived, a sign that Jax had established himself as a ringleader of sorts by the time new folks came in. Kaufmo is a colorful clown performer who entered the circus sometime around the same era as Jax, either shortly before or after Jax's arrival. In the pilot, Kaufmo is present as one of the 6 humans before Pomni appears, meaning he'd been part of the group for a while. He wears a yellow clown outfit and literally a balloon animal for lips. Kaufmo is known for one thing above all, telling really corny jokes, but it seems he legitimately loved making people laugh. In the friend trio with Jax and Ribbit, Kaufmo was likely the sillier pal, a clown trying to keep spirits up with humor. Kaufmo and Jax became close friends, which might sound odd given Jax's bullying tendencies. But Kaufmo was very direct and genuine. If Kaufmo didn't like something, he'd say it, unlike Ragatha, who tries to be polite. Jax respected Kaufmo's authenticity. There was no fake niceness between them. There's even a bit of meta-humor that Ribbit liked to do the bunny ears hand gesture behind Jax's head in photos, even though Jax is literally a bunny. That playful vibe shows how comfortable they were together. Unfortunately, being trapped in the circus affects everyone differently, and for Kaufmo, the pressure built up over time. He increasingly hid in his room, drawing disturbing images on the walls and withdrawing from the group. signs that something was very wrong. Jax, having seen abstractions before, recognized the warning signs that Kaufmo was starting to spiral. In essence, Kaufmo was on a slow march toward abstraction even before our story's main events, and Jax quietly began mourning his friend in advance. Before we reach that finale, though, we need to discuss the event that preceded it, a loss that shook Jax and the whole circus to the core: Ribbit's abstraction. We learned earlier that Ribbit was the second-to-last human to abstract, meaning she was the final person to lose her mind before Kaufmo did. Ribbit's abstraction happens not long before Episode 1's timeframe, and it fundamentally alters Jax's behavior and the group's dynamic. Let's unpack what led to this tragedy. Ribbit enjoyed hanging out with Jax and Kaufmo, and in pictures she often wore a smirk, exuding confidence. However, Ribbit's big dislike was arguing with Jax. The two were best friends, but they didn't always see eye to eye. Jax's need to feel in control and Ribbit's equally strong personality could lead to clashes, and one of those arguments proved fateful. In Episode 6, there's a scene in Kane's office where Jax peers into a memory of a past adventure, and we hear a muffled argument between Jax and Ribbit from the past.
Hey, you alright?
These lines reveal that Jax, likely out of fear or anger, denied caring about their friendship, essentially telling Ribbit their bond meant nothing to him. Whether he meant it or was lashing out, we don't know, but Ribbit was clearly hurt. The fight escalated to an emotional peak. According to Ragatha, around this time Jax had no more real friends in the circus, implying both Ribbit and Kaufmo were gone or on their way out. Putting the pieces together, Ribbit lost her last anchor of support in that fight with Jax, and soon afterward, she abstracted. The show heavily implies this argument was the trigger for Ribbit's breakdown. In short, Jax's cruel words, "I don't care about us," may have been the final push that shattered Ribbit's sanity. When Ribbit abstracted, it was a massive blow to the group. She was the last one to abstract before Kaufmo's turn, marking yet another friend dragged to the cellar. For Jax, this was traumatically personal. He might act like a heartless jerk, but Ribbit's loss destroyed him internally. We see evidence. After Ribbit is gone, Jax becomes even more bitter, spiteful, and closed off. He starts bullying others and pushing everyone away, perhaps because he fears caring about someone again. In Episode 7, Jax actually hallucinates Ribbit reaching out to him, a hallucination that nearly causes Jax himself to abstract until Pomni intervenes. Clearly, Jax carries immense guilt and grief over Ribbit. At this point, only 4 humans were perhaps still active: Kinger, Ragatha, Jax, and Kaufmo. The circus seemed increasingly empty, and morale must have been at an all-time low. The digital circus wasn't done bringing in new unfortunate souls. In the period following Ribbit's abstraction, it appears that 2 more humans joined the troupe, Zubul and Gangle. These 2 are the last confirmed arrivals before our protagonist Pomni shows up. Zubul is a uniquely designed character. They look like a mixed and matched assemblage of toy parts. In real life, Zubul was a 22-year-old who worked as a bartender and tattoo artist, and their personality in the circus is perpetually annoyed. By the time we meet Zubul, they are irritable, jaded, and utterly disinterested in Kane's nonsense. They want nothing to do with the adventures or the ringmaster's antics. Zubul also frequently pulls off and swaps out their body parts, since nothing ever feels right in this digital form, a reflection of some dysphoria or frustration with their identity here. We're not 100% sure when Zubul arrived, but given their attitude, it might have been not too long before Pomni. They still have a spark of fight in them, like someone who hasn't been completely broken by years and years in the circus. In any case, Zubul was one of the final new members to join the circus crew in the timeline. Finally, we have Gangle, the ribbon character with comedy and tragedy masks. Gangle arrived close to the start of the story, making her one of the last arrivals chronologically. She's a 26-year-old former aspiring artist/student from the real world. In the circus, Gangle is shy, sensitive, and perpetually in a bit of a sad state. At last, we reach the beginning of the series, the arrival of Pomni. Pomni is a 25-year-old woman in real life who one day unwittingly put on a bizarre VR headset while exploring an abandoned building, and instantly found herself trapped in the digital circus. Pomni's first moment in the circus is literally the opening of the pilot episode. By now, the digital circus has been running for decades, and Pomni is the latest victim of its endless game. The final event we'll cover, which occurs shortly after Pomni's arrival, essentially during Episode 1, is Kaufmo's abstraction. Well, mere hours after Pomni joins, Kaufmo completely snaps. In the pilot, Pomni and the others discover Kaufmo hidden in his room, having painted frantic scribbles everywhere and muttering insanely. This makes Kaufmo the most recent member to abstract, coming right after Ribbit's earlier exit and bringing the tragedy count up yet again. In the pilot story, Kane has to intervene. He captures Kaufmo's glitched form and tosses him down into the cellar along with all the previous abstracted humans. We even see the cellar full of those past victims. Queenie, Ribbit, and others are presumably down there, locked away. So by the end of episode 1/beginning of episode 2, the timeline has reached the current status quo. Pomni has joined, Kaufmo is gone, and the circus moves forward with Pomni, Jax, Ragatha, Kinger, Zubul, and Gangle as the remaining humans. Pomni realizes she's trapped for good, just as all the others once realized, in their own time. Throughout this timeline, 4 confirmed abstractions punctuate the years. Each one took a toll on the survivors and altered group dynamics. And so, as episode 1 begins, Pomni sits down to a digital feast with her 5 new companions, unaware of the long, painful history that came before her.